working now. I'll have to talk pretty loud over this rain. It is a-raining. Oh my gosh. Wow. So, I guess I'm going to talk loud today. Of course, what you guys hear, I might be hearing it louder than you. Is it like overpowering? Or is it just me? Should have brought some headphones. It's not too loud? Okay. Good afternoon. The title of today's stream, while I can stream on YouTube, I'm going to be doing a massive changeover. Now that I'm on unauthorized.tv, by the way, that subscription availability is now live. I'll send out a link at some point. But I'm going to be moving all of my live streams from YouTube, and before they can delete me, I'm going to upload them and get them on unauthorized in their own section called streams so that they're not deletable, because I have a feeling YouTube's gonna, I don't know, I don't want to create that, but I want to get out of there and then just use YouTube to kind of like post one, and then, you know, almost everything I say will eventually go against whatever their guidelines are. So we're going to work on that, get all the streams up on unauthorized, and then I'll still, if I'm able to, stream on YouTube, shoot it over to unauthorized, and then basically delete it. So today's title is called Are You God? No. Because I had a decent chat with someone who told me he thinks he's God, and I said, well, are you in your 20s? And then he said, yeah, but that wasn't the end of it. He couldn't quite grasp why that's logically incoherent, invalid. And it's this concept of we're all one, man. We're all God, man. We are God. We manufacture morality. You know, if you're of that mindset, hodgepodge, Eastern philosophy, mysticism, shit like that, Alan Watts, these guys, no absolute truth can be known if you're God. And if you're God, everyone's God, and we disagree, then who's right? The guy, that was my first. So if you get in this conversation, I have a couple of things, tools or angles for you to take. Because it's a good argument to be prepared for if it comes up. It might be just with friends. It might be whatever. It's not a serious deal breaker. But when the guy said he's God, I said, well, am I God? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I disagree with you that I'm God, so who's right? And he laughed, and he said, I guess we'll find out when we die. And I said, well, if you're God, we wouldn't have to wait to find out if we die. And that was the end of that particular segment of the conversation. And then there are some other problems with you are God, I am God. One, we weren't here from the beginning. We're not eternal. So we weren't here. We didn't, and we're not the creators. We can't create. If you don't believe me and you swear that you're God, please demonstrate creating something. Create something that didn't exist. That's not a free-form alteration of existing matter. Create from nothing. You can't. So you're the creation. I'm the creation. The creation can't be identical to the creator. That's why people aren't God and they can't be God. People also can't create absolute law. We can't create the laws of logic or alter them. We can't create immaterial absolutes of any kind. If you were God, you could do that. So if someone claims they're God, ask them to explain how he created, he or she, whoever you're talking to that says they're God. Ask them to walk you through how you created all things, existence itself, and then ask them to create something real quick. The other part is he also got into, well, I've definitely experienced a bunch of things where it made me feel like, I was God, and I was present to a miracle. And I said, well, those two aren't the same thing. I said, if you were God, you wouldn't need a miracle. You wouldn't even have the distinction, self-referential distinction that separates you from the miraculous. There just is. There wouldn't be moment. And then we talked about divine inspiration. And I said, well, inspire means to breathe air into, breathe life into. So you can't be inspired and be the source breathing life into yourself, especially if it's divine inspiration. And these problems are philosophical and logical problems because they deal with one and many. They deal with parts and absolutes, wholes and sets, particulars and absolutes. And so when you say, oh, but I experienced divine, inspiration, and it was me. Well, if it was divine inspiration, you wouldn't have a moment of divine inspiration. You would just be walking divinity. You can't be just like a commoner, like, oh, I'm just a normal person, but then I experience this other moment called divine inspiration. But from me, you wouldn't even need to name that. There would be no known distinction from your perspective if you were God. You wouldn't even need these particulars to navigate through this limited material world and our limited range of knowledge and reasoning. And so, and then it points to, why is it logically invalid to start from that position? I mean, the position, ultimately, when someone says that, it's their desire to know who God is. So it always comes from actually a good intention place. They want to know who God is, and they can't get around it being not them because they're experiencing whatever they're experiencing. So they have a desire to know God, but because they know themselves, they basically stop there, and then they're left with logic and reasoning. And so the question, it ends up becoming a somewhat of an argument from personal incredulity, which is the fallacy that assumes it's not the way I think it should be. If God, why didn't God make it clearer who he is and who I am? Why? And the irony of that is that you're coincidentally using all of the energies of God: reasoning, logic, math, words, language. Did I say meaning? You're using this plethora, this pillow full of these well-crafted tools that were given to you that you didn't generate yourself. Yet and at the same time, those things are limited. So the tools that we're given are simple enough to know God to know God. They're simple enough, and they're actually there to know God. They're not there to figure out the problems of the world and to solve them. They're there to know God. And so they're good enough to know God, but they're not good enough, or they're limited because they're used by a flawed, fallen person, being humanity. The body of humanity is somewhat crippled. And so there's an irony to going, I'm going to use all of these energies of God that I didn't create, but I'm going to assume that I know that I am God, yet I didn't create the things that are required to even come to that wrong conclusion. And then they're purposefully limited so that you can't fully understand or capture God in his completeness, his wholeness, because that's impossible. You can't complain about reality if you say you're God. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing falls apart as soon as you start arguing, and you have to accept that you're now operating at the limits of man. Like the argument, this is where it all ends. The claim that you're God, the argument that you're God, any subsequent argumentation is already way beneath the bounds of eternal creator. You're already acting near monkey. We're not monkeys, but you're acting near monkey. If I'm God, so is Ben Shapiro. Yeah. I mean, if I'm God, if everything's God, your dingleberry is God. And so this is like, this is a problem because it's the same issue that the the simulation bullshit or the, multiverse stuff. The problem is you can't verify the oneness. You're God, I'm God, we're all one thing, it's all one thing. You can't verify that by appealing to the system that you're claiming it is. In other words, oneness can't verify its oneness because you would need to stand outside of that uniform one singular thing to call it that. You can call a box because you see the edges of the box. You can call the table that it's a table. And then there are sets of tables. And then that's why multiple universes is stupid, because these dumb ass wannabe scientists that don't even do science are starting from the assumption they even know what one universe is. They're already skipping to multiple. Well, it's all the same problem. The problem is all systems become circular and then are required to appeal outside of themselves because the systems themselves are not consistent within themselves. That's Kurt Gödel. That's mathematical. That's written in a proof. That's a theorem. Because you'll always have to appeal outside. That's why any truth claims, something first has to be true for you to argue anything's true. You already start from something that you can't even prove to be true to make any truth claims. And it's all the same problem, whether it's in, just in language, a truth claim, whether it's claiming that you're God, or you're claiming that there's a simulation. Again, simulation, same problem. A simulation of what? If all is a simulation, then what's not a simulation so that you can call it a simulation? You see the problem here? All is illusion, man. Well, all must be distinct from illusion, and illusion must be distinct from non-illusion. So the framework, the base premise, all is illusion. Something must not be an illusion for that to even be true, to even entertain it. And that's how ridiculous some of these people are. These Lex Friedman characters, the Joe Rogans, the Dildo Dawkins, all of them. Sam, any of these guys pushing this stuff, I think they're either just foolish because they're not using logic, they're not using logos, they don't understand that anything they say must fit within a coherent, large, holistic worldview that makes sense. And the problem with all of these dumbass, half thought out, intellectual exercises Neil Tyson and Shmushdash. Well, we are in a simulation. And until someone argues a reason why that's not true, then no. It's been demolished a million times, Shmushdash. It's stupid. Dork matter. Lex Friedman got the V. Yeah, I'm sure. Gödel said that a formal system that talks about natural numbers is incomplete. The corollary is that such a system is inconsistent when it talks about itself. Yeah, you can't, in other words, it's like a kind of a mathematical long form of appealing to itself. Like you can't, in other words, logic can't prove, verify, or invalidate logic. Science can't prove the validity of science. Language can't, justify or verify or prove language, and so on. That's why faith is inevitable. If you keep appealing outside of a system, something else must be true. You're always, and the thing is, the reason God is rational and logical, it's not just that we don't even have logic and the idea of rational or the idea of truth, which are all concepts, by the way. And if these concepts are absolute and we don't create them, then it's completely reasonable to assign absolute concepts to absolute mind. We don't know, that doesn't tell us who the mind is, so it doesn't finish the task or solve the problem. But that if you keep appealing outside of systems because they're not consistent, like you just said, there's an ultimate end of circularity. Why? Because it's illogical, because endless regress is also irrational and illogical. It's like ad hoc. Endless regress is epistemic nihilism. It will lead you into nothing being true, which of course is absurd, because that's a truth claim, or solipsism. That it's just all one big loop. Well, again, you have the same problem. If you say it's all one big loop, you need something outside of the loop to discern what a loop is and what that loop is to verify it's a loop. You can't verify the loop within the loop. So you keep going outside. And this is both metaphoric truth, correspondence truth, coherency, math, any of it. If you keep expanding and keep appealing outside of the thing that you just proved or almost proved, whatever it is, the statements, it becomes circular. Language becomes circular. Apple is apple. Numbers are numbers. Oh, that you can't argue that. That's circular. What is one? One is one. What is one? One is one. That's circular. You can't do that. No, it's permitted at the paradigm level. And you realize you just keep going back and back and back. And the only thing that gets you out of endless regress is eternal. And if these are concepts and there's meaning, if everything that we're dissecting and trying to understand keeps peeling back the layer and asking another question, these are all knowledge claims. It's about wisdom, knowledge, morality, love. What are these? What is human? What are we doing? What's the meaning? What are we doing here? You keep asking. The answer, if it's true, must be equal to a being that is the basis of truth. Truth is a being. It's not some abstract concept that somehow exploded from, some Big Bang bullshit. It's not some ethereal, immaterial, magical thing that comes from Saturn. The luminaries. No, everything we know to be true, everything we appeal to is conceptual and is specific and peculiar to our minds. It's peculiar to being human itself. Yeah, that's not right. That's absurd. There might be a leaf that thinks what you think. You just haven't proven it yet. Yum, yum. Yum, yum.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, it's not true, because even if that was true, let's say we give Dildo Dawkins his little idea. That doesn't justify information, Dildo.
What do you mean, information?
I mean information. It's immaterial.
What? Well, the four is written down on the paper. The paper is material. The ink is material.
No, the 4 isn't identical to the paper or the ink. The 4 is meaning. The 4 is information. Information requires a coder, an encoder, and a decoder. You can't just have information.
Well, that's absurd. We use information simply, it's conventional. We use it for utility, to understand things.
Nope. Not at all. Information's immaterial. You can't even pursue understanding anything unless you start from something that's true, that's information based. Meaning. What has meaning? What has a definition? What's distinct from another definition? Law of identity, law of non-contradiction. These things are first. These are prerequisites for any knowledge, but knowledge itself can't justify these prerequisites.
No, you're just trying to confuse me.
I am confusing you, but I'm not trying to.
Well, chemicals, just chemical.
Doesn't this validate the first cause? Well, I mean, the first cause, I don't think it's the best. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, arguments for God are inside a very specific sub-faith realm. Not that faith isn't required to make arguments or to appeal to language, laws of logic, math, meaning, all that. It's just that everything comes down to faith. And it's not about convincing. It ends up not being about persuasion or force or shame. It ends up just being about faith and following the commandments and knowing and trying to know God. And trying to be Christ-like. It's not about how many converts, how many wins, all this stuff. And so the argument, and even the first cause, it really is still within our limited debate format argumentation, where you're convincing someone with reason and logic that God exists and why it's like, these are kind of useful to get people to the point where they could accept maybe humility or faith or the difference between knowledge and wisdom. But ultimately, they're not going to do the job, because God doesn't work in those ways. In other words, it's just like the mask nonsense. It's like, or anybody in fear, you don't argue, you don't present good argumentation. You should be in fear. I mean, if you have an argument otherwise, then I'd be happy to hear that. Until then, I let the debate continue. The thing is, there's no debate. Let's say there was a debate about that, right? What Ben Shapiro just said. Well, there's no debate, because you go up to someone and you show them joy or fearlessness or music or something that lifts their spirit. There's no more debate. You've already transcended what you're arguing is true or not. In other words, arguing the numbers. You shouldn't be scared. Look at this. This is ridiculous that you're scared. I mean, look at these numbers. I mean, come on. There's no reason. That might get some person who's in that paradigm, but ultimately, to take on the commands is to just be joyful. It's just be grateful and show that and demonstrate it, or use your skills and your gifts to make in the world what is good, but not to make the world good, to make in the world what's good. It's not of the world. It's gone. It's not held in an object. It's not pointing to numbers. It's like you alter people with those immaterial things. That's actually your tool chest. Forgiveness, compassion, joy, love, sharing. These things transcend argumentation. And there's a reason they do. Because, God, you don't get to God from reason and philosophy and intellectualism. I always enjoy your streams, Jim Bob. I have a couple shekels. Thank you, Shades Bear. I don't know what an L is, though. Information means in formation. Maybe it's physical in nature. I mean, I don't think so. No, it's metaphysical. Because think of it as this. Formation itself, it's in order. So it's like information is in some form of order. And order presupposes some sort of meaning and a thinker, a coder, purpose. And so even if you can identify order in the physical, oh, that comes after this. Oh, look at that web. Look at these things, how they're organized, right? You're distinguishing order. It's like you can look out into the physical world and see order or in formation. And I'm not going to argue that that's not possible, because it is. It's very clear. It's obvious. But here's the thing, bucko. It's like the concept of formation itself is not identical to that which you are identifying as formation. How do we know? Well, because when you look at something, you reference something that is not that. In other words, you have the concept of formation. That is what allows you to see it in the real world. And someone might say, is it a chicken or the egg situation? But it's not. No, it's more, again, it's about the preconditions, the prerequisites for gaining any knowledge at all. The idea of formation, order, is before locating it out there in form. Like, oh, look at those ducks. They're in order. There's a formation. Look at those geese flying in formation. We know to identify it before it occurs. It doesn't tell us. Jordan Lee Peterson. Anthony Gonzalez. Thank you, $2. Is wealth indulging in self-care? No, indulging isn't wealth. Self-care, keeping your vessel pure as you can. Yeah, I think that produces wealth in the form of like longevity. You're able to actually go forth and multiply if you're healthy. You were given a vessel. It's temporary, and you honor it, and you don't deface it. But I don't think that's indulging, though. That's a weird word. It's like rain on your wedding day. The chicken or the egg is a joke on the godless heathens, because before the egg is a creator. Yeah. Also, information. They're like, well, it was obviously the other thing. And you're like, yeah, but what about the information? The end, when you get caught up into the physicality of things, the physical cause of things, you might be wasting your time because, again, it gets endless regress. If you want to skip past that, if you're arguing with an atheist or talking or whatever, and they go into that, you just skip all that. And you go, okay, why don't we just skip all this and you just tell me where information comes from? You know, like there's my mom was telling me, I don't know if this is in the Bible somewhere, but you know, the idea, the concept of seed in all of its metaphoric and literal glory, the seed of the word, the seed of man, the seed of the earth, the seed of the gardens, plants, everything, right? And I was talking to my mom, and we were looking at like a seed, like, you know, she was talking about a seed, and she was like, the seed itself, you can't open the seed. This is her argument. This is like a beautiful argument against materialism. You can't open the seed, Dildo Dawkins, and find where life is. Where's the life of the seed? Where does life, where is it? Where's that essence of life? What life itself? He'd say, well, it's the wholeness of the whole thing. It's not one particular part. No, you can't tell me where life is in the seed. It's not capturable. Yet you can stop it. You can abort it. But you can't. The life itself is beyond one thing. You can't pick it out. You can't isolate it. You know? It's beyond comprehension. It's not it's not of the world. Isn't that crazy? That we see life actually all around us. We see vitality, we see even death. But death and life itself are not really like, you can't capture them equal to material. And so it ends up being, you simply ask, you know, where's information come from? Where's the life? Because that's what's so silly about it. Chicken or the egg? Who cares? It's endless regress. And like I just said before, endless regress can only point to eternal. It's the only remedy, logically, that intervenes with endless regress. And it's on every level. It's all it's like fractal everywhere. So, but even forget the chicken or the egg. Even if you just choose one and just say, well, let's just go with this, you still can't tell me where the life is, or where the information is, or where it came from, because the material, the body that's transferring all the information and interacting with its cells and all this stuff, this deep level of network that is communicating, the network's not identical to the information, Sam Harris. When we study neurology, you see that we make neural pathways, and this really becomes the ultimate secret of life, that I really believe that perhaps in our lifetime we will see what the truth is in a physical sense. Well, you're an idiot. You're a big-eared little rat-looking idiot. Because you can't find the information or concepts in physical form. Is that just a, what is that, a single rap craft American? Is that T-Pose the Man, $5. Thanks, T-Pose the Man. Jim Bob, I was the guy talking to you. You will make me think. God bless you. All right, great. You have many different names. Yeah, I didn't take the piss out of you, by the way. You were very cordial, respectful, except for the two bruhs that you wrote. Bruh. It just reminds me of the amazing Lucinda. And anything that reminds me of Lucinda makes me
Makes my little tummy hurt.
Discover Science. Yeah, I like that channel. I think that's... Yeah, I think I know what channel you're talking about. Where just atoms, 90% water. Yeah, that's what Delta Dawkins would make you think. Atoms, atomic theory is still like a... I mean, you can't... I don't even... I think they're still theoretical. But even if that was true, it's irrelevant to truth itself. In other words, you can't find the conclusion we're 90% water in the water.
Hello,
Teenage Sigmund Freud looked for reproductive organs for months in freshwater eels. He never found them. Yeah, eels are, I think we still don't know how they bone.
The shrieking eels!
Intelligent people see patterns. Whether the patterns are true is the difference between wisdom and schizo. Yeah. Yeah, a pattern could be kind of meaningless. In other words, a pattern is not pragmatic information. A pattern could be, I mean, with a little maybe serendipity or something, be someone help me. What's the information before pragmatic? Where you can see signs of intelligence and concepts, but it's not in exact order yet. Anyone know? I forgot the word. Information theory and all of that is really interesting to me, but I forgot what it's called. Hey, Jordan Peterson, are you God? No! You know, it's like if I was, I'd probably be doing a lot better, you know? You know? I still can't think of that information. It's bothering me. Anyway, I almost completed Jordan Peterson's Office. I won't be too harsh on him. I don't think I'm that harsh, by the way. People are like, what's your beef? I used to be a little more harsh. You know, I was watching, I went over to Jay Dyer's channel. He had Jonathan Peugeot on. And he's got some interesting stuff. He's really good with symbols. He's got a lot of interesting videos. He did a video about the Holy Fool, and I really related to that. And then I had some criticisms of him when, you know, he had that first moment of Jordan Peterson crying. And I was, you know, we're all a little critical what you should do. Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you say that? So I get that bitchiness too. I'm not free of the bitchiness. But I was like, that was my criticism. I was like, he's in this soft moment. If it's authentic, might as well take it as authentic until you see it's not. And then, you know, he's basically at the, if that's true, if that's authentic, he's at the cusp of humility. And it's like, then you respond and give him a bunch of symbolic, you know, narrative stuff. You know, I don't know. I'm no better. It's just, you know, when you watch as a viewer, we're all just like in the stadium sometimes. We're not always playing the game, and we're like, oh, why did you make that move? You could have made another move. Anyway, but from watching that, it was interesting, all the symbolism and stuff they talked about on that stream. But then, you know, Peterson came up and a lot of people responded, and it's mostly Orthodox. You know, there are some pagans in the chat and stuff, but a lot of it was like, just when it comes down to it, it's just prayer. You know, you pray, you don't wish someone like Peterson ill or harm. You don't want to teach him a lesson and all this nasty stuff. And at the same time, I have this weird obligation to keep him in the cycle of mockery to some extent. And a part of my challenge being Christian is finding some balance of mockery and, you know, being able to go far enough, but also not being too safe. And I honestly don't know the answer. I just go. I just do what I think is funny. And actually, when I'm impersonating him, I'm like not thinking about what I'm writing or whatever. But when I make this, it made me think of like, well, when I do this series, which is, he's literally the star of the series, it's back to work. Jordan Peterson decides, I'm done traveling, you know? I'm done doing this online mumbo jumbo, you know? I want to get back to the chair. You know, I would kill for just a boring little office with the smell of leather and a bunch of books that are never taken off the shelf, you know? I just want to sit one-on-one with people in the flesh, in blood to blood humans, you know? And so I've opened up my practice again, you know? And honestly, most of the feedback I get is like, you're not being mean, but sometimes when people say like, what's your beef? Why are you so mad? I don't know how to do it differently. I don't know how to do it differently. I do it the way I do it. There's nothing, I don't have like, it's not vengeance or anything. I don't want to like take them down. It's just that I have something to reveal to me. That's what I think. But is it mean? I mean, I would like to know if it was. You know, if I had a bunch of people just agreeing with me and it was funny, and it was funny to be mean, like I would want to know if there was a blind spot and it was just mostly mean. But I don't know. I actually don't know. You know? Jordan Peterson deserves criticism because he knows he's lying. Yeah, I think there's a part of him that's, you know, what you're seeing, the falling apart, what looks like falling apart. Like, I don't want to see that, but I also think it's a spiritual thing. I don't think it's just some mental health thing or the circumstances. I think you battle with what you lie about, and you battle with what you're not being honest about. Maybe not even lying, you know, you might get to a place you're not even lying anymore, but you're dealing with the consequences of it because you've built something that might be based on some sort of concealment. And I'm not pushing him to expose anything. I just like to impersonate him, and I want to make a cartoon that uses all of these voices and some other people's voices and have it all in one place. But I'd like to know from you guys or anyone else, like, if it's just like, have I just been in a bubble too long and I'm just a bully? I don't think so, you know, because it's partly at his expense, yes. But the thing is, it brings a lot of joy, too. And I don't think that what I do, I don't think, and I hope that it's not the case, that you leave here with some empowered anger against him, you know? Because that's not what I want, you know? I want you laughing and giggling. I want people to be reduced to humans, the creation. You know? I think Norm Macdonald said it best. You can't do a good impersonation of someone that you hate. Yeah, I remember that. That always stuck with me, by the way. And there was a time where I was like, actually had it spiritually out for him. I think I'm meaner to Ben Shapiro, honestly. Like, I have to find my compassion for that guy. I have compassion for Peterson. I don't agree with what he does and how he says it and how he borrows and twists and turns. I don't like that. But I don't dislike him. I don't even know him. But Ben Shapiro actually annoys me. He like irritates me to look at his face. You knew? And that's why Shapiro is going to be Jordan Peterson's first client. I already showed you a picture of that, sitting in his little couch chair, and he's got his little Home Depot. He's got a piece of wood. That's what I want to play with too, is adding props to the room and a lot of like little close-ups on things, cutaways and close-ups on little pieces of information that we all know. Maybe even a top view of Ben Shapiro's yarmulke. There's like a PragerU and like a solar panel sign.
Solar-powered yarmulkes. Biggest thing since hula hoops.
Jordan Peterson, for a guy who says you know a lot, I would like to know what he knows, if anything. You know? His baffle garble. Yeah, I think he just gets away with it a lot. Jordan, you think 6 million sounds a bit high? Well, I'm not going to... I don't think that's something I should answer, you know? I mean, I think anyone who's seen enough movies know that it's, you know, we should probably just take that as it is and leave it be, you know? But I can't help but think, you know, there might be some logistical issues, you know? It's like time in particular. You know, if you just do the math and think about what's required, you know? It's like, I mean, who is doing the work, you know? Makes you wonder. But again, I can't go too far on this because, well, you know why. And I'll just leave it at that, you know? You know? Greetings from China. Hello, China. Jim Bob, where are you from? I'm from the Catskill Mountains of New York. Should animate Jordan doing a cookie experiment. A cooking experiment? Like Roseanne Barr, you mean? Premise of the periodic table seems retarded to me. The whole add a proton to get elements. I have no idea. I know chemistry is real. So if you can actually find, you know, the elements physically, and we just name them because they're consistent. The problem with that is, what if the elements are as misidentifiable as, like, let's say the V words, you know, how we find things, you know, with patterns, and we're like, that's a that. You're like, yeah, but it looks like a million other that's. How do you know it's that? Well, we're just going to go with that's a that. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not versed in chemistry at all. So I don't know. That's the right answer. But I do wonder, though, if it's possible, because we're assuming that we're finding and collecting all of these things that we assume maintain their own properties, you know, that don't morph, that don't change when we're not looking, or they change when we are looking. You know, I don't know. I just don't know. You know? You knew. You knew. But That's actually a funny thing. I should remember that. Like in the animation, actually just do like a lot of butts, and it goes into like a little like moment, even maybe add some music in the back where it's, and then they just do close-ups of his little mouth going by. Mob, has anyone ever walked by while you're doing Stephen Hawking? Probably, but I probably didn't see it. Oh, I heard the saddest thing at work today. This lonely lady, cat lady, atheist, not married, doesn't like kids, never. She said these two statements, one and then subsequently the other. So sad. She said, "I hate kids," and she's the only one who's still wearing like a mask. She said she hates kids, and then she said, "My cat didn't want to get up out of bed," especially after like the abortion posts and talking like seeing all these women celebrate the destruction of their own body and their own child. It was just so sad. I don't know why those two statements, like someone cheering, "Oh, I got an abortion, hooray, freedom," like that's just gross. But you know they're where they're at. They're so into that mindset that you're not surprised. But there's something about connecting the dots of, "I hate kids, my cat didn't want to get out of bed today," was so sad and lonely and without God. I don't think there's any Christian who hates kids. I think "I don't like kids" is peculiar to atheism. And I would love to see if there was data on that. I doubt there is. But I just don't see it. Like, you cannot look at a kid, even if they're annoying, and eventually go, that's God's creation. "I hate kids. My cat wouldn't get out of bed today." Like, that's your big problem? Disgusting. Yeah, it's so great. A woman especially. Like, a grumpy man who's beat up by his dad with a wrench. They might say, "I hate kids because I hate what being a child reminds me of." And so they might not be saying, it could be true for a woman, but a woman is so integral to what a child is, to what babies are, to like, it's their extension, The woman is an extension of the man, and the child is an extension of the woman, and the family is this body of God in a way. We're not God, but you know what I mean. And just the thought of women taking on this disgusting worldview that a beautiful miracle growing inside of them is a parasite, or something that's going to stop them from winning in the world. What a lie. What a terrible marketing lie to believe in. Probably sold by men, by the way. Disgusting. Anyway, I gotta wrap this up. This will be posted to YouTube. Again, we're gonna go through YouTube because they keep warning me about being deleted. And I'll do it for them. I'll just delete all my stuff for you. You hear that, YouTube? I'll delete it for you. You don't have to worry about me. And we'll start moving everything over to unauthorized. I don't have the link right now. I have it in my email, but if you want, go over to unauthorized.tv and see if my page is up for subscription. And if you want to subscribe and support, that's where all my streams are going to go. If you want to see them again, and that's where all this new animation. I'm not going to just post my animations on YouTube, especially. And they're probably going to be too long to post on Instagram, and I don't even want Instagram to really have that much value for me. So, you know, that's really what I'm going to be gearing up to do is produce and provide a lot of stuff over on that platform, because, you know, it's the platform that's not going to boot me off. So I might as well invest in it. And if you guys might as well too. A lot of you already are registered there for Owen and all the other guys who are on there. But if you want to support, that's going to be the best way to support me, aside from what most of you have already done, which has been amazing in buying Savage memes and super chats and all that. Thanks everybody for your support and giving me ongoing support. So I see a way to do this ongoingly, and not just, you know, it helps me expand what I'm doing and make more stuff. It's so I'm grateful. Anyway, have a good day. I have a long weekend. I have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. So if I'm not booted again, I should be doing a lot of streams. All right.